Consideration of minutes. We're good. Thank you.
No changes.
Citizen comments. I think we have a couple. Sarah?
Good evening, Commissioners. Sarah Wassinger, President and CEO of the Chamber in Hayes. And we are very excited to be starting an initiative that has really highlighted a specific need for Ellis County. We have been partnering with a lot of agencies, including Hayes Med, Child Care Aware of Kansas, and have been talking to a lot of members during our membership meetings so far this year. And the need for child care is significant in our county. There was a point-in-time survey conducted this year that indicated that we've lost 16 child care facilities in Ellis County since 2019. And we know that with the continued workforce issues that we have, that the ability to have quality child care would also allow more people to get out into the workforce and help our businesses that really need that assistance. So we just wanted to take this opportunity to let you know that we are aware of the issue, and we are currently looking for volunteers and people to serve on that task force who have ties into the child care networking. And if anybody would like to get in touch and participate in that group, they can definitely reach out to the chamber and let us know that they want to help with that. We do anticipate having the schools involved in that process, as well as child care providers, the university, and Hayes Med. So just wanted you to be aware of that as well. If the city would have a desire to be a part of that conversation, we would definitely welcome any of the commissioners or any Hayes City staff to participate in that.
Would they contact you directly, Sarah? Do you have it on your website if somebody wants to participate?
Essentially, they can just reach out to the chamber office at 785-628-8201, or they can email me at sarah, S-A-R-A-H, at hayeschamber.com.
Very good. Thank you for taking that on. Very necessary in our community.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any other comments?
Getting a bunch tonight. I'm Doug Williams. I'm the executive director of Grow Hayes. And I just wanted to come tonight. The first permits were issued on the RHID housing project today or yesterday or sometime this week. And I know you guys, people are quick to gripe when things don't go as they should. You know, people
Really?
think that we're not progressive and that kind of thing. But I can assure you from our perspective that city staff has been nothing but accommodating. They've overcome my flaws on numerous occasions, and you know, they've just done everything they can to help us get this done. And I think it's just important that you know that sometimes, that you've got John and Jesse and Jeff and Curtis and all of them have done a great job. And we certainly appreciate it, and I just thought you should know that. So wanted to let you know.
Very good. Thank you so much. It's nice to hear those kinds of comments. And I know people are excited about the development. I actually was talking to somebody today that knew somebody was looking at buying a house. And I think I wasn't lying when I said I thought 2 were coming out of the ground very soon. I didn't know if they were pre-sold or not. But thank you for those comments, Doug. That's very important. Consent agenda. The one mayoral appointment I have on the consent agenda is to the Care Council. It's a 2-year term appointment to expire September 9th, 2023 for Samuel Allen. That's the only mayoral appointment within that.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda item.
I'll second that.
Moved by Commissioner Millick, seconded by Commissioner Reuter. Any,
Has anybody heard of this guy?
all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. First item on the agenda, North Vine Street Corridor Project Construction Update. I've been excited for this. Mr. Brown.
Good evening, Commissioners. John Brown, Project Manager for the City of Hayes, and I'm here to talk to you about, give you an update on the North Vine Street construction project. The latest traffic control change occurred earlier this week as the project moved into Phase 4 of the second season. You can see that on the map here. It's basically the center of the roundabouts and the splitter medians. And to safely accomplish the work of building those center islands and splitter medians, the traffic is pushed to the outside lanes north and southbound. This image looking northward shows the contractor actually working there in the center of the 37th Street roundabout while the traffic is traveling in the outside lanes. These photos were taken yesterday by the CVB, Brandon Cooley, on his drone. Appreciate that. Here's another aerial photo of 37th Street roundabout taken yesterday. Here you can see an excavator is already removing some of the temporary pavement from the center of that roundabout that carried traffic in previous phases. This drawing shows the current traffic control setup at 37th and Vine. North is to the right of your screen, and Vine Street's traffic is restricted to one lane in each direction in the outside lanes. And the 37th Street traffic is controlled by stop signs. And as it has been in past phases, left turns are still prohibited. Moving north to the eastbound I-70 ramps, Vine Street traffic is still carried in the outside lanes of the teardrop-shaped roundabout at the eastbound ramps. Still, there are no left turns there. This is a photo of that particular location. As you can see, the eastbound ramps are substantially complete. However, the eastbound exit ramp traffic wanting to go north still needs to follow the detour to the south to 32nd and 33rd Street roundabout to make a U-turn there. Continuing north to the westbound I-70 ramps and the 41st and Mopar roundabout, the same traffic control scenario continues with one lane north and southbound and outside lanes and no left turns. This photo is looking easterly with the westbound ramp towards the bottom of the screen. There'll be the westbound on-ramp, and the eastbound or the westbound off-ramp is there toward the center of the screen. And then this view of 41st and Mopar roundabout is looking kind of toward the northwest. And you can see there the center that needs to be built as well yet. North of 41st and Mopar, traffic is returned to normal prior to 43rd Street. However, the inside left turn lane approaching 43rd Street is closed yet. That would be right here. That is closed to allow for the reconstruction of this section that was taken out to allow crossover traffic during previous phases. The contractor is making that section a priority to get that section rebuilt, replaced, and so we can get the second left turn lane back open again and give full capacity to the 43rd Street intersection for making left turns to the west toward Walmart. This image, looking towards the northeast, shows that approach to the 43rd and Vine intersection where the inside left turn lane is shown as closed with these cones right there. Here's a kind of a project, a photo of the whole project looking south, kind of from over the intersection of 43rd and Vine and looking south. It kind of gives you a little perspective on the whole project. The last piece of the construction puzzle will be to go back to 35th and Vine Street there by Hickox and Arby's, and to construct the median island, the splitter that will convert that intersection into a 3/4 intersection that allows. And I should have added some arrows onto that because you would be able to make the left turn onto the side roads from either direction, but you wouldn't be able to make the left turns from the side roads onto Vine. Okay, that's why they call it a 3/4 intersection. You can make 3/4 of the movements, but that one left turn movement onto Vine Street from both sides is not allowed. And we expect all of this to be done in about November timeframe. And finally, this drawing shows the detour routes that have been in place for quite some time now to compensate for the elimination of the left turning movements on Vine Street. And these detours will remain until all the roundabouts are functional. Do you have any questions for me?
I have a question for Toby. I've had a lot of people just ask me different ideas, like where you can turn, stuff like that. And I think it's because they're seeing it's getting close. Is there any way that video that the CVB had out a few months ago, I think it was on Facebook and other things, could we have that out again? Just because I've had a lot of people say they really like that, but I've had people just contact me in the last couple of weeks asking a lot, like when they can cross over in the double lanes, and that does a really good job of explaining it. So.
Yeah, CVB PD has a Facebook page.
Yeah.
We can send that back out and hopefully get some
I think it'd be a good idea because there's a lot of good response, but I've had more people ask questions the last few weeks than I have any time. So.
Wonderful report. I've really been looking forward to hearing about it. It's so good to see it from the perspective up north, looking south to see all the function of the traffic. It's going to be amazing when it gets open.
Okay.
It's nice also not to have the cluster right up there under the bridge. I was saying to someone one time, if I was new to this town and that I went up there, I'd be a little bit afraid.
Yeah.
But it's now open nicely and moving nicely, and traffic really is moving nicely through there. Are you pleased with things, John?
I am. I think the traffic flows quite well through there. Obviously, with it being an active construction zone, there are occasionally times when, whether it's due to a cement truck or construction activity, or somebody just kind of gets a little confused, but it does carry traffic through more efficiently than the traffic signal lights did.
Very good. Very good. Any other questions for Mr. Brown? Thank you very much, John.
Thank you, John.
Parks Department parking lot resurfacing. Mr. Boyle.
Good evening, Commissioners. Jeff Boyle, Director of Parks. I am here to talk about the Parks Department parking lot. We put together a request for proposals, sent it out. This is for a 6-inch concrete parking lot. It does encompass the entire Parks Department parking lot. There is an alternate that we added in that we would like to include in our recommendation. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. But as you can see, T&T Builders was a low bidder by only $200. So that shows that we definitely had competitive bidding going on. T&T Builders did an excellent job on the Arc Park parking lot, so I have no reason to think that they wouldn't do an excellent job for us on the Parks Department parking lot. This is the general layout of the parking lot. At the top of the screen is the entrance coming off of Highway 183 alternate. That is a 30-foot wide proposed entrance now instead of approximately 18 feet. KDOT was thrilled to have us do that at 30 feet because of the higher speeds on Highway 183 alternate. Right now, we really can't get two-way traffic going up and down our entrance. So when I met with Kevin Zimmer, that was his recommendation, and it made perfect sense at that location. So we do have all the KDOT permitting in place and ready to roll. So this is a picture of that same design there on the actual aerial photo. Some of them red lines are a little bit hard to see there, but that shows you kind of what it encompasses at the Parks Department. Now, alternate number 1, the only alternate, is this little area right here in purple leading up to the Parks Department building. That is a dilapidated driveway, and as part of this project, we thought it'd be nice to have them go ahead and do that as well so that we meet at the proper, elevations and those sort of things at the gate. So we are recommending that we do add the alternate 1 in. Like I mentioned, this 6-inch concrete, one of the main reasons why we went 6 inches, because we do have a lot of heavy traffic and dump trucks hauling dirt, those sort of things. I think going any less than that will cause the parking lot to break away quicker in the future. So I think that is the right way to do it. Here's some pictures of the parking lot. It's kind of been just a mix of, over the years, just a mix of materials. It started off with some asphalt millings. That I believe they were rejuvenated millings at the time, just looking at some history on it. And then I know since I've been here, we've patched it with asphalt. We've patched it potholes with gravel. Right now, if it rains, I mean, it's really muddy down there. I mentioned at the last meeting, we actually had to have an individual doing a park lease. We had him submit that park lease down here to City Hall that day because it was raining. So Again, a little bit closer up view, kind of what the ground looks like. There's literally no asphalt left. It's all just dirt and gravel at this point. That's the ramp coming down off of Highway 183. So as you can see, it's in pretty poor condition, and it's something I really think is important for us and visitors and anybody coming down to the facility for whatever reason. And this is the action requested.
I move we approve the low bid from T&T Builders LLC for the concrete resurfacing of the Parks Department parking lot in the amount of $136,180 for the base bid and alternate one, with funding from the Special Parks and Recreation budget.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Reuter, seconded by Commissioner Musil. Any discussion?
Jeff, this is supposed to start around October 1st, and it'll be a 6-week, depending on the weather.
Yes.
We have to take down part of the fence in order to be able to get things in and out of your back lot there when they pour concrete.
We have two gates, so we're going to try and work it where we are going to be either using the east half of the parking lot and use the east gate, or use the west half of the parking lot and use the west gate. And then same way with the entrance, they're going to have to pour half of that and allow us ingress and egress on the other portion, and then flip it over as they get done with the concrete. One thing I did fail to mention, the budget for this is $156,000. We are $19,820 under budget, so I want to make sure you were aware of that.
Thank you, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you very much.
2021 Uniform Public Offense Code for Kansas City's Chief Scheibler.
Good evening, Don Scheibler, Chief of Police for the Hays Police Department. I have a couple of housekeeping issues for you. You're being asked to consider adopting by ordinance the updated version of the Uniform Public Offense Code and the 2021 Standard Traffic Ordinance for Kansas City for use within the City of Hays. The League publishes the revised version of these books every year, and they are presented to the Commission annually. These books are designed to provide comprehensive laws for Kansas communities, and for the most part, like the parallel state traffic and criminal codes. The overwhelming majority, both books remain the same from year to year, with only a few changes being made. Handout has been prepared, and it's included with your information. Some of the changes to the UPOC include the amendment to the sexual battery charge. The change in the law removed the spousal exemption for this section. Prior to this change, a person was enabled to engage in sexual battery against their spouse without a threat of an arrest. A new law, trespassing on a criminal infrastructure facility, was passed, making a Class A misdemeanor to knowingly enter, remain in a critical infrastructure facility or property containing what I'll call a CIF if the property is completely surrounded by a fence and properly marked prohibited entry. Good example of this is a water treatment plant, but also the wastewater treatment plant be as facilities that would be protected by this ordinance. During the COVID-19 crisis, the state of Kansas amended the Kansas Emergency Management Act by making all violations of the order issued under the act a civil violation. Well, a change made sense for COVID-related orders that drastically limit our law enforcement ability to address problems with other more common types of emergencies. With the addition of 9.3, the state has restored the criminal penalty for violation of orders relating to curfew and restrictions of entry into designated geography areas. This applies both to orders issued by the state and also by the city. If the mayor issued we had a tornado or something along that line, we'd be able to control where people entered into, and be able to control a curfew time they'd be able to be out. Some of the changes to the STO include Section 10.1, funeral possessions. This is a new law that was added to recognize and clarify the right-of-way privileges for funeral possessions and make the law consistent across the state of Kansas. Prior to this, it varied from city to city often, and this brings some consistency to that. Another new law, Kansas Move Over Law, now applies to utility vehicles for gas, water services, electrical services, cable services, and telecommunication services, etc. The utility vehicle must be using flashing amber lights for the law to apply. Drivers must yield to the utility vehicles and pedestrian working in the roadway. Drivers must change lanes on a multi-lane highway and move over and if not practical, they must slow down and use caution. This new section will make it safer for city maintenance workers working on or near the roadway. Fine's pretty steep on this. The state set the fine at $105 plus we have $100 court cost. So I encourage people to slow down and help keep our workers safe. I'm actually item number 7 and number 8. The first one, number 7, we recommendation that city staff that you approve both the Uniform Public Offense Code and the standard traffic ordinances for use within the city of Hayes.
Make a motion, we approve ordinance number 4001, adopting 2021 version of the Uniform Public Offense Code for use within the city of Hayes.
Been moved by Commissioner Musil, seconded by Commissioner Burgess. Any other discussion on the item? Not, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0.
I'll move to approve ordinance number 4002, adopting the 2021 version of the standard traffic ordinance for use within the city of Hayes.
I'll second.
Moved by Commissioner Burgess, seconded by Commissioner Melick. Discussion? Call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Chief. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Chief.
Item number 9, rezoning request for 210 West 13th Street from public and institutional district to residential multifamily. Jesse Rohr. Why are
Good
you
evening.
laughing at me? You're all laughing at me.
Or laughing at Jesse.
Make sure this still works. I threw it across the room when I got up here.
You notice it's always, I jump right at it that they're after me.
Passionate about this rezone.
Good evening, Jesse Rohr, Director of Public Works. And I want to talk to you tonight about the consideration for the rezoning of the property at 210 West 13th. Staff had received an application a couple months ago by the proposed buyer, the Todd Company LLC, to request a change in zoning from public and institutional district to RM or residential multifamily. The property I mentioned is 210 West 13th. It is actually the former St. Joseph's Parish Center, St. Joseph's School that was built in 1907. Was used as a school for several years and an administrative building for a few years after that, and I believe has sat vacant for approximately 5 or more years since then. The property is at the corner of 13th and Ash. The building is listed as a historical structure, and therefore it makes it eligible for various tax credits through the state of Kansas. The property is also located within the Neighborhood Revitalization Tax Rebate Program through City of Hayes and Ellis County, and would be eligible for those various tax rebates as well, based on improvements made to the structure. Here's an image of the overall site. You can see the building is a 3-story building, limestone structure. There are approximately 28 marked parking stalls on the site that would be used and would be sufficient if the property is converted to residential living units as is proposed. Here's a zoning map showing the property outlined in red there. Kind of in the middle of the screen here is public and institutional district. You can see there's adjacent public and institutional district. To the north is the St. Joseph's Church. Then you have the USD 49 property to the west. To the south of it, in that kind of yellow, orangish, greenish color there, is a NC4 or multifamily district. So it is contiguous, would be contiguous with other multifamily dwelling districts if rezoned as proposed. Our future land use map that's shown or provided in the comprehensive plan does show the property as downtown mixed use within the comprehensive plan. Adjacent properties to the south and for several blocks to the west are identified as medium density residential, as you can again see in that green color there. The comprehensive plan's compatibility matrix, which is a table we use to see how various zoning districts are compatible with each other, does rate the proposed zoning with adjacent zonings a 5 out of 5 or completely compatible with each other. This tells us that the zoning request is logical and does fit in and continues with the character of the existing neighborhood. So within the RM or the multifamily zoning, there's kind of three various stages of uses. The first one being permitted uses or uses by right. So if rezoned to RM, these uses could be done on the property with no other permissions, no other requirements. The second grouping are what we call limited uses. So limited uses maybe have some compatibility standards, but they just require administrative approval. No approval by the governing body, no approval by the planning commission is necessary. And then the third type, or what we call special uses, if rezoned and if someone chose one of these uses, they would have to go through the process through the Board of Zoning, through a public hearing, public notification, and in order to be granted granted approval for one of these proposed uses, if that were to ever be the case. So as with any rezoning, your options are specifically specified by state statute. Your three options that you have are to approve the rezoning request as was unanimously recommended by the Planning Commission. If you feel you don't have enough information or have questions, you could send it back to the Planning Commission with a specific basis for further review, or you could deny the request. And since that would be going against the recommendation of the Planning Commission, to deny it would require a 2/3 majority vote of the City Commission. And this would be the action requested.
I'll make a motion that we adopt ordinance number 4003, approving the change in zoning from public and institutional district, PI, to residential multifamily district, RM, for the property located at 210 West 13th Street.
I'll second that.
It's been moved by Commissioner Melick, seconded by Commissioner Reuter. Discussion or questions?
Quick question, just kind of for my own clarification. RM zoning allows following uses by right, and one of those uses is schools, public. And this is an old school building, so it seems it's already within a zone. It's already a building that's within an RM zone. Why do we need to rezone it, I guess?
Because the proposed use, if the property does indeed change hands as being proposed, the proposed use does not fit in the current public institutional district. Therefore, the change to RM or multifamily. So there is a option on the table, from what I understand, to convert this building to multifamily apartments. Therefore, can't do it in public institutional district, but they could do it in the RM district.
Yeah. But public schools can be in RM districts.
Right.
Correct. Correct.
But
If
it
they were
won't
going
be
to
a
put a school back in there, they wouldn't be before us today. They could do it in RM or the public
Or,
institutional
okay,
district.
okay.
Correct.
Or either or. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Just a coincidence that it's being used that way now.
Yeah.
Obviously, it predates our zoning, the use of it as a school.
Thanks.
Will they have to change the parking configuration? Is the parking regulations for RM different than PI?
They're not actually, if converted as proposed, and like I said, the plans are very preliminary at this time, there is adequate parking now to serve the number of units that that they've talked about. They could change configuration if they wanted to, but the numbers are adequate there. Access is adequate off the concrete alley there between Fort and Ash as well. So they could do maybe another entrance as well off 13th Street potentially, but it's actually well suited for the proposed use.
And the spaces on the west side are enough. It doesn't need anything on the east side.
Right, I believe just the spaces on the west. Now, there is some room to probably keep some of the remaining spaces on the east side.
John's gonna have to back his car.
Yeah, no, I watched that carefully, and they do have space to park on the east side too, if they need it.
Right, and the south side of the building as well, if needed. There's none marked there now, but I think there's definitely adequate parking there.
Thank you.
So on the property line, you were just talking, I mean, it's like right there, that's where the red line is, at the property line in the middle of the
That's
parking
an
lot?
approximate, I mean, you know.
It's pretty close to that. I went out, I had it surveyed, just
Uh-huh.
to make sure that we knew where everything was. And it might be just a foot or two closer to the
That's-
building than
yeah.
it shows there, but it's not enough to make any significant difference on use. So,
I'm just curious, that's interesting.
if you're interested, that was platted, of course, way back in the early 1900s.
Mm-hmm.
And those lots, I think, were 25-foot
I believe
lots.
so, right.
Yeah, and so there are numerous lots on that block.
Okay.
They have 5, and I think our building has 4 or something like that.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Anything else? Call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. Now we're going to begin the step-by-step discussion of the budget, and I'm going to follow it very carefully per instructions. Revenue neutral rate public hearing is now declared open.
And before calling it started, I have a housekeeping item. I can do this during the revenue neutral rate hearing. You do have a change page, and it is page 106, which is the vehicle and large equipment replacement schedule. There was a discrepancy in the amount of one piece of equipment. That would be the second item listed down. We had the incorrect amount listed on here, and it did not match the actual project sheet, which was correct. That's why you only have one change. It doesn't change the budget itself. The money was adequately planned. This is a non-budgeted. This is out of vehicle equipment reserve, so it doesn't change any other part of the budget except for this. And I also wanted to, before calling it started, I wanted to point out the work that all the departments did putting the budget together that you're about to have presented, especially Colin and Kim. They do a lot of the heavy lifting on this. Once all of the departments submit the budget to us, these two do a lot of the heavy lifting, so they deserve most of the kudos, assuming you approve the budget.
We'll see.
I didn't know Kim had that kind of a back.
Good evening, Colin Belzer, Assistant City Manager, and I'm happy to present the 2022 proposed budget. As you know, this is a year-round process. In a couple months, we'll probably have a commission retreat where many of the priorities and goals are built into our budget. This presentation will go over the highlights of the 2022 budget, review the revenue neutral rate, which is a new concept for the 2022 budget year, and then outline the process to adopt the budget. So a brief overview, we are presenting a balanced budget. Sales tax revenue is projected to be up 2%. Assessed valuation should be up 4%. There is 184 full-time employees built into this budget. That's 3 more than previous years. It's adding a parks maintenance employee, an IT technician, and an airport maintenance employee as well. There'll be program step and COLA increase for all employees. We are proposing to maintain the mill levy flat at 25, which is the 13th consecutive year the city's been able to do that, and reserves are funded. The general fund is the primary government fund, which accounts for all general government activities, so the things that, you know, typically think of: police, fire, streets, parks, etc. Roughly a little over $15 million in revenue is expected in the general fund in 2022. The biggest percentage of that revenue source is sales tax. As we all know, it's very important to the city of Hayes. 60% of those revenues are sales tax receipts. That also includes an $825,000 receipts from the Ellis County sales tax that was approved last year. I'll also point out other governmental aid, which is kind of the dark blue. It's on the left, it's the 5%. That is ARPA, or American Rescue Plan Act funds. One way to gauge your sales tax or the health of your sales tax climate is a pull factor. So this is a report done by the state of Kansas. It is on the Kansas fiscal year. So the next 2021 report should come out fairly soon because it ends in July or June of 2021. So in 2019, we had a pull factor of 1.68, and in 2020, it jumped to 1.74. There's various factors that go into a pull factor, but population isn't changing drastically in Hayes, so I think it's a pretty good representation that we are drawing more people. Any number above a 1 means people are coming into our community to shop. If you have less than a 1, then people are not shopping here. And then I pointed out last year, and I'll point out again, it's you have to look at these comparatively, but then you also got to remember they have their own unique characteristics. I pointed out Merriam, I know last year, it's a town of like 11,000 people in Johnson County, and it's got a lot of shopping, including IKEA. So a lot of people go to that little town. So how do we look when we consider our sales tax rate? This is an overall rate, so it includes the city, county, state, etc. This, I tried to compare or gather cities that were fairly comparable. Happy to do any city that anybody would like, but this is 37 other communities. And as you can see, we're pretty, it's not that bad. Our 8.75% rate is not the highest. It's pretty much on the lower end or in the middle of what other many communities do charge. And this graph these are sales tax rates effective October 2021. So there are issues that communities passed earlier this year that will be starting charged in October 2021.
I have a question, Colin.
Yeah.
Just curiosity. Looking at that lower side, we have Andover, El Dorado, Wichita, Derby. Those are all down in Wichita. Why? What are they doing?
Don't know. That'd be a good thing to follow up. Because that is curious. I noticed that too. I'm not sure.
I'd be
They're
interested.
higher in property tax. I can tell you that. But yeah,
And that
I'll
may
check.
be, yeah, I'd be interested if
Yeah.
you looked into anything.
I'll
They're
check
all-
around.
You said they're all higher in property tax?
Oh yeah. Those ones on the bottom, yes.
Right.
So the American Rescue Plan Act. So in March of this year, Congress approved the 1.9 trillion economic stimulus bill. American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA. 350 billion came to local governments and cities and tribal governments. Hayes was allocated 3.15 million, and we received half this year, and we'll receive the other half next year. The pie chart on the left shows of that 3.1 where the revenue got divided. So 2021 lost revenue was a little over 900,000. 2022 lost revenue of about 950, and that's included in this 2022 budget. And then there's still about 1.3 outstanding that I'm sure the commission will talk about at a retreat soon. The right pie chart shows how that lost revenue is getting divided. So the large portion is going to the general fund. And it's there is a formula that the federal government established that we are using in order to come up with those numbers. When we get to expenditures, our overall expenditures are roughly 15.8 million, and our total operating is 13.4. You'll see on the left is a breakdown of the government services and where those expenditures are going. City Commission is at 16%. Don't get too excited. It's not a raise. It's the difference between the total expenditures and total operating expenditures being transferred to your Commission Capital Reserve, which is how we can fund projects by cash, and it funds our reserves. Other than that, not surprisingly, public safety is the most expensive. So this has been shown before. This shows the difference of revenue versus expenditures over the years. And that gap is what funds your Commission Capital Reserves and funds the reserves to make sure they are healthy. And that is why the city can finance capital projects and equipment with cash, which I would say is very unusual. I think Hayes is very fortunate and very ahead of the curve on that, for sure. The Commission Capital Reserve project for 2022 is a reconstruction of Vine Street from the 13th to the bypass. The overall project is estimated at $3.85 million. The city did receive a $1 million grant from KDOT, so we are projecting a $2.85 million contribution from the city, which will be in cash from your Commission Capital Reserve. Some other notable projects that are associated with general fund operations is the fire station architectural design. That's going to start this year, but next year will be the bulk of the work. And then annual street maintenance program. Obviously, street departments take care of the streets. This comes out of a different funding source, but nonetheless, it's associated with the general fund. Some notable equipment. It seems like Public Works is spending the most money. They're going to be getting a motor grader for $300,000. They're requesting 3 dump trucks with snow equipment for $565,000, and then the parks is also the second, I guess, most expensive if you want to look at equipment-wise. When we get to the levied funds, so we are requesting just under $6 million in ad valorem tax. This holds the mill levy rate flat at 25 mils, like I said, for the 13th consecutive year. And the majority of that levy, 47%, funds employee health and benefits. So health insurance, CAPERS, KPNF, those costs. And then the library as a component unit is on there, and they are 28% of that levy. And here's kind of a chart of the mill levy history. And as has been stated many times already, 25 mils, 13th consecutive year. So the typical Hayes property tax bill, 23% of one's tax bill goes to fund city services. According to the latest data, median home value is $176,900 in the city of Hayes. So $1.40 a day provides you the city services that you see on the right and many more. So 25 mils, where does that rank? This is latest data from the League of Kansas Municipalities. Out of 122 first and second class cities, Hayes has the 9th lowest mill levy in the state. And this shows the top 30 communities. And none of those towns from the Wichita area are below Hayes, so double check that. But how does Hayes total levy rank across the 122 first and second class cities? We're number one, maintain that status currently. Maybe this year it might change with the adoption of all the budgets, but right now, Hayes is the lowest mill levy across the state. The airport is expected to spend about $1.7 million. This is 3 times what was included in the 2021 budget. The airport has been a significant benefactor of federal money lately because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Over $1 million of that 1.7 though is being transferred to the Airport Improvement Fund to plan for future capital projects. In 2022, we anticipate to replace the fuel farm, which is from the 70s, and then also construct a snow removal building, which will be shared with the FAA. Equipment that is purchased through the FAA improvement program must be housed inside, and airport operations have grown, causing the need for an additional building. The major piece of equipment is $240,000 for a tractor with plow and batwing mower, and that is the reason for your change sheet just now. The Public Safety Equipment Fund, that's a 2 mil levy, which is used to purchase fire trucks, police cars, and associated equipment. It was authorized by resolution 1979, and the goals of the fund are incur no debt, provide the necessary fleet of police, and then there's a certain number of fire equipment that we also must meet. Key expenditures include $64,000 for patrol car laptops and associated software, 5 vehicles in the police department, and 30 self-contained breathing apparatuses. The last time the SCBA were purchased was in 2008, so it's time for replacement. The debt service, Hayes has $12.8 million outstanding in debt. According to our policy, the debt limit could reach as high as $35.9 million, and state allows you actually to go up to $71 million. That $12.8 million payment will result in just under $2 million in debt service. There are 8 issuances that the city has outstanding. 5 are special assessments. 1 is a water system, so the water department's paying for that. 1 is transient guest tax, which will be North Vine. So out of those 8, only 1 is a debt service for internal improvements. Some other levy funds are obviously the Hayes Public Library. It's a component unit. In other words, we levy for them, but they have their own board and governing structure. And they'll be roughly $1.8 million. And then the employee benefits is expected at $4.9 million in planned expenditures. 71% of those are health insurance and retirement contributions. Much that is out of the city's control. You might recall that last year we did have to make changes to the city's plan in terms of contribution limits. Later this year, HR Director Aaron Giebler will come forward with insurance news as well. So we'll be coming to you again. And that represents, we do budget $11,000 per employee for health insurance, and that 184 employees. Utility systems, roughly 14 million in expenditures are planned. Water reclamation is the largest utility system expenditure at 38%. 2 million of that is roughly a payment to a revolving loan fund, though, for the wastewater facility plant. So that's one reason why it looks so large, is because we have that outstanding payment. Solid waste budget is funding for the city's municipal solid waste, special collections, recycling, etc. There's approximately 7,100 customers, and total expenditures are just under 1.7 million. The significant project in 2022 is the construction of vehicle and polycart storage building at 160,000. The current building in use was constructed in 2001 when the department only had 3 refuse trucks. Since then, we have grown to 6 vehicles, and they are being stored outside right now, and we want to protect that investment and construct an additional building. In the water production and distribution, the department will continue to perform proactive maintenance, such as the well rehab program. The city has approximately 120 miles of water line, and in 2022, they'll be doing 4 water line replacement projects, which is about 7/10 of a mile for just under 900,000. The project in the picture, the 6th Street Pine to Montgomery ditch, is 412,000 of that 900,000. They'll also be purchasing another generator. They're on a replacement program to replace the outdated generators, and should have all modernized generators by 2023. The water reclamation, again, they are continuing the proactive maintenance with sewer cleaning and camera. The big project, or probably unique one, is the department plans to demolish the obsolete headworks and administrative structures. The picture on the right is the former headworks building. That's where the sanitary sewer discharge enters first. If you got on the tour and the screen is there, that's the headworks building. We're budgeting about 200,000 for that project, and then also they will be replacing a generator as well, and it's on the same cycle as the water production, so they should be finished with that in 2023. And then, as I mentioned, one of the largest payments of that 5.2 million larger expenditure is roughly 2 million for a payment to the state revolving loan fund. Special highway revenue is for our street maintenance. There's approximately 120 miles of street that require maintenance, repair, and rehab. And in 2022, about 78% of its funding will come from state and federal resources. Typically, it's closer to 50-50, a little over 50 for government, like federal and state, but because of ARPA, it's become more heavily state and federal aid this year. The 2021 street maintenance program anticipates spending slightly above 1.1 million. One of those projects will be a sidewalk from Thunderbird to Inglewood that was discussed earlier by the commission. And we will come, or Public Works will come later this year with the proposed 2022 street maintenance plan. In special parks and rec, the funds must be used for park and recreation services. 66% of this fund's revenue sources come from federal. Again, some of that is ARPA. State is the state liquor tax, which is the most of it. And then the remaining 34% is transfers from the CVB. So notable projects include Larks Park foul ball net at 55,000. The East Frontier parking lot improvements will be roughly 40,000. And then there's not as much activity as there normally is, because there'll be roughly an $80,000 repayment back to the Bickel-Schmidt Sports Complex Fund for the scoreboards that the City Commission chose to do earlier this year. The CVB's goal is to market the city of Hays to visitors, travelers, convention groups, and support attraction special events. Pretty standard as usual, but obviously the notable line items is transfer to debt service in almost 338,000. That is North Vine. We are projecting that there will be roughly 34,000 that will be able to go to a sinking fund, which we established in order to pay off that North Vine debt issuance sooner when those bonds are able to be done so. And then we are transferring roughly 300,000 to the CVB reserves. So the CVB experienced a significant decline in 2020 due to COVID. It was probably one of the hardest, if not the hardest, department hit by COVID-19. 2020 guest tax receipts were down 20% from 2019. So this transfer is done to help bolster that fund for future stability. In capital improvements, there are 19 projects planned in 2022 for just under 7.7 million. Both pictures illustrate the same thing. Of that 7.7 million, 52% will be streets and it's kind of a breakout of which projects will be done. And then on the right shows the actual dollar value. And as you can see, streets with the South Vine and the street maintenance program at roughly $4 million is the one that will cost the majority of the capital improvement projects. Fleet replacement, there are 22 pieces of equipment across 5 departments for roughly $1.8 million. Parks and Public Works are purchasing the largest amount of equipment, but as I mentioned earlier, Public Works is doing $965,000 worth of equipment, but 4 of those equipment equal $865,000. So, but it is time for those pieces of equipment to be upgraded. So new this year is the revenue neutral rate. That was passed by the legislature in 2021 through Senate Bill 13 and House Bill 2104. It eliminated the tax lid and introduced the new concept of revenue neutral rate and adjusted the budget approval timeline. So I provide an illustration down at the bottom. In 2021, if your house was valued at $176,900, which is what the latest federal data says is the median income, and 25 mills, you're paying roughly $512.19 a year for city services. Pre this revenue neutral rate, let's say your value went up to 4% as is projected in the budget, the city payment would then be $532. State law now requires us to have a revenue neutral rate hearing, and if you want to exceed the revenue neutral rate, you would have to pass a resolution. So the picture on the far right shows if your house is now valued at the 183, in order to generate the same amount of money as we did in 2021, the $512, it would take a mill levy of 24.21. So this budget is recommending or proposing to exceed that 24.21 and stay at the 25 flat mill levy rate that we've had for going on 13 years. So the process, the budget does require a levy that exceeds the revenue neutral rate. You must hold a public hearing and then approve a resolution. So when you're ready, I would ask that you invite comments. When comments are done, have a motion to close the hearing and then move on to a resolution to exceed the revenue neutral rate if you so choose.
Now's the time we would entertain any comments from the audience relative to the budget. Seeing and hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Reuter, second by Commissioner Musil. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass 5-0. Now we're going to consider a resolution to exceed revenue neutral rate.
The action is up on the screen.
The action's on the screen.
Aye.
I knew that.
I'll move to approve resolution number 2021-013 to exceed the revenue neutral rate in its property tax levy for the tax year of 2021, budget year 2022.
I'll second.
Moved by Commissioner Burgess, second by Commissioner Melick. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. And now we will open a budget public hearing. And we've already done all that. Is there any other comment? Is that what I'm asking for now?
Yeah,
I'm looking at Kim and
Another round of comments.
another round of comments. Still seeing no comments. I'd entertain a motion to close that public hearing.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Seconded.
Moved by Commissioner Melick, second by Commissioner Burgess. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Now we'll consider approving the 2022 budget for the city of Hayes.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion, we approve the 2022 budget.
I'll second that.
Moved by Commissioner Musil, second by Commissioner Reuter. Any further discussion on the budget? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
0, same. All opposed, same sign. Thank you. Thank you very much, Colin. That was an outstanding job.
Thank
That was
you.
an outstanding job. The clarity is there. We understand it. I think we can answer questions for the public. And I'm sure you're prepared if there are any in the future. But it really was an outstanding presentation. Thank you very much. Any commission comments, Commissioner Musil?
Well, I'm going to echo what you just said. I think the way he presented the budget to us is very easy to talk to the public on what's going on, and I appreciate city staff, what you guys have done. You make us look good by, I guess, running a tight ship, so thank you, and that's all I got.
Commissioner Melick?
Also like to thank city staff, all of the department heads for submitting their budgets. But something that I always like to point out is that our mill levy for the city is actually 18 mil. The library is a pass-through, which we have no control over. That's another 7 mil. We saw up there on one of the charts that our 25 mil was the lowest in the state. If you take another 7 mil off of there for the library, we are way down there. So kudos to the city. We've worked hard, we've planned hard, and that's why we're at where we are today. So hopefully we can go forward with that. And a lot of people think our taxes are high, but if you look around at other cities, and those graphs showed that we are not. We are very, very conscious of every dollar that we spend. So thank you, city staff and department heads.
Commissioner Burgess.
Can't add much more to that. Good job to the city staff and department heads putting together another good budget. Thank you.
Commissioner Reeder.
Yeah, I'll echo that too. I appreciate staff looking at that and putting together a budget that's extremely easy to comprehend. Even if you've never done it before, it's very well put together, and every dollar is accounted for and thought through extremely well. So I appreciate staff for looking at that and putting all that together and doing that hard work every single year to keep us as well as we're doing. Thank you.
And I'd echo all of that and call out by name Kim Rupp. We know how many hours Kim puts into this project, and it's very much appreciated, and I'm sure it makes it easier on everybody because of the work that Kim does. So we appreciate it very much, Kim.
Thank you, Kim.
Lastly, I'd like to wish Mason happy birthday on Monday. He's going to pass the big 3-0.
Whoa.
I don't even remember
Holy.
back that far. Happy birthday, Commissioner.
Thank
Happy
you. I'm
birthday.
getting old.
No, you're
No need
not.
for an executive session. We're adjourned.
You're getting old.